Full Stack Basics presents Master JavaScript. Unlock the power behind the frameworks.
Hey everyone, and welcome to our new series. Let's clarify one thing. Frameworks are powerful, but JavaScript is the force that wields them. Master the source and command them all. And let's jump right in with truth number one.
Frameworks are cheat codes that don't teach the game. Without JavaScript fundamentals, you're copying solutions you don't understand.
In this episode, we're going to build an app called DevTruths with vanilla JavaScript first. And then in the next episode, we are going to build it with React. And that's going to be the flow for this entire series. First, we're going to build it with vanilla JavaScript so that when you build it with React, you already know what's under the hood. Before we start, please go ahead and set up your environment. Go ahead and download and install Visual Studio Code. Once you have Visual Studio Code installed, like I do here, we're going to go to extensions, and then here in the search, you're going to search and install the following extensions. These extensions right here will give you the same look and feel that I have in my Visual Studio Code and will help you follow along better. And lastly, please go ahead and install Node.js from its website. Please pause and take care of this. Now that your development environment is set up, I want you to create a folder in your desktop called DevTruths projects. In here, we're going to create a new folder. I suggest that you call it DevTruths Vanilla JavaScript. Go ahead and do this, and then open this folder with your VS Code. Now that we have the folder open here, we're going to create 3 files. The first one is going to be our index.html. The second one is going to be style.css. And the last one is going to be app.js. Please pause and create these files. Now that this is created on your end, I'm going to go to style.css, and I want you to pause and implement each styling. First, start with the body. Please implement this. Then I want you to take care of the h1, a card container, and a card class like so. Please pause and implement these 3. I'm going to scroll up, and lastly, I want you to implement the hover effect for when we hover over a card and the card title. Please pause and implement. Now that this is done, we're going to double check that we in fact have all the styling that we need. Perfect. If you're here, you're doing great. Now that we have that, we're going to go to index.html, and I'm going to put an exclamation point here in this file, and then I'm going to press tab, and this is going to create a boilerplate HTML document for us. Please pause and implement. With this done, I'm going to link our style sheet to our index.html like so. I'm going to include this link tag here in the head, and then I'm going to replace the title for DevTruths VanillaJS. Pause and implement. I'm going to save just to reformat, and then I'm going to work on the body for now. So in the body, we're going to include 2 very simple things. The first one is going to be an h1 called DevTruths VanillaJS first, and then I want you to create a div with the ID of card-container. This has to match exactly the ID that we have here in style.css, because this is what's going to create the styling for what's going to go inside of here. Pause and implement. Now that we have this, we can close out of style.css. We can right-click on index.html and click on Open with Live Server and meet me over at the browser. Over at the browser, as you can see, we already have our site and we already have our styling set. Yours should look like mine if you have followed along thus far. So let's get to work now.
This premium content is brought to you by Full Stack Basics JavaScript Bundle. Create a full stack Kanban board prototype with VanillaJS and the Gem stack, including registration, login, and drag and drop functionality without libraries. Next, create a production-ready Kanban board with the MERN stack, including Google Single Sign-On and drag and drop. Learn more at fullstackbasics.io/projects.
Back to our index.html, we are going to link our index.html with our app.js script file like so. So for this, we have a script tag, and the source is going to be app.js, as you can see up here. Please pause and implement this. Perfect. So now we're going to start working on app.js. And the first thing I want you to do is to create a list called DevTruths, which we're going to include or store in a variable called DevTruths. And as you can see, it's an empty array. Please pause and implement this. Now I'm going to make some room, and in this list of DevTruths, I'm going to include each truth as an object, and it's going to have two attributes, the title and the reason. Like so. So here, as you can see, I have the first reason, or the first truth. It has the title, and it has the reason why this is true. So now what I'm going to do is simply include one by one, and you can pause and follow along. I'm going to include the third one now here. Pause and implement this. And then I'm going to include just two more so that you can include it as well. Please pause and implement this. One thing that you're going to see me do a lot here is that when we have long code like this that we don't have to work on anymore, I always want you to collapse the range or minimize it so that our workspace is clear. Now, what do we need to do here? We want to display all the DevTruths in the HTML. And we want to display these right inside this div card container. So we want all those 5 reasons to display themselves here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take control of that element by its ID, and then we're going to store it in this container variable. Please pause and implement. Now that we have control over the element with this ID, we can iterate through each of the truths up here and display it in a card per truth. So I'm going to say DevTruths dot for each. And then what I'm going to do here is that for each truth inside of this list, we're going to do the following. So type truth, then the little arrow here, and then curly braces and open some room here so that we can work. First, for each truth, we want to create a card. And this card is going to be a div. So we're going to use JavaScript to create that element. Pause and implement. Then, this element, we're going to give it a class name. And the class name is going to be called card. But why? Well, very simple. If I split to the right here, we also have styling for each one of the cards. Reason why we need this class name here. So pause and implement what we have so far. Next, we want to create two things in the card. First is the title. So I'm going to create a constant variable called title, where I'm going to create yet another div. I'm going to add a class name, which we also have in style.css called card-title. And then we are going to include in the text the title attribute in each of the truths. Remember, in this list right here, each object has the title and reason attribute. Hence why we're going to use the title attribute to create that portion of the card. Please pause and implement this. Once this is implemented, I'm going to save simply to reformat, and then we need to do the same thing with the reason. Let me save here. Once again, we're creating a new div. We are giving it a class, and then we are including the content in that div by taking it from the reason attribute within that specific truth object. Please pause and implement. So now that we have gone through each truth, We have created a card for each one. We have created a title for each one, and also the reason. Now what we want to do is append the title and the reason to each truth card, like so. So this is the parent element, and we want each card to have a title and a reason. And finally, in the container where we have all the cards, we want to append each specific card like so. Please pause and implement this. With this done, I am going to simply right-click on index.html. I'm going to open it with live server, and then I'm going to go over to the browser. And perfect, you should have your first set of truths displayed on your own site. So what have you learned today? Well, first, you took a list of powerful ideas and you used JavaScript to create the entire UI. You didn't copy HTML blocks. You created them with JavaScript code, as you can see here. And also, you learned how to structure the HTML file so that then you can fill up a container with elements generated by JavaScript. You learn how to loop through data in JavaScript and create DOM elements that get displayed in a specific container. Now, why is this so powerful? Well, React didn't do this, Vue didn't do this, Angular didn't do this, you did. You controlled the DOM. You generated HTML with logic. You just became dangerous because now, when you learn React, you won't be lost in the sauce. You'll know what React is doing under the hood. Coming up next, we'll build the exact same app, same cards, same layout, but in React. You'll compare the two and instantly feel the difference. And when you do, you'll understand why JavaScript is a true superpower.